Hi. So I'm Ellie. I'll be doing some storytelling. In 2004, the Palawan Island Paleohistory Research Project was born in the Diwel Valley in El Nido, Palawan, after a few years of seed excavations by the National Museum. It was initially a short-term stint. As the story goes, they said, try lang natin a few years, then let's move down south. But year after year, the project directors decided to come back for one more season. Every year, one more season until they realized, okay, we're in this for the long haul. And so instead of moving around the island of Palawan looking for bits of prehistory, the project got rooted in the Diwel Valley. Year after year, through the slow process of careful excavations and detailed analysis, there was just more archaeological information coming out. The digs at Ile, the base camp, and the most accessible limestone tower in the valley have revealed presence of tiger and two species of deer that are now not found anywhere on the island, human occupation for over 10,000 years, a 9,000-year-old cremation cemetery, a shell midden spanning a few thousand years, and a Spanish period cemetery of over 100 burials. Not to mention, all other limestone towers in the landscape are archaeological sites as well. These finds led to an increasing number of participants in the project and an ever-growing list of research questions. When I first joined the project in 2015 as a graduate student, I brought with me questions of my own. I was interested in finding out what the local community thought about the 100 or so burials that were excavated in Ile, how they thought these human remains should be stored or displayed, where they should be kept, and what we should do with them. In those conversations, what became clear to me was that while our local community knew about the excavations, they did not know much about the archaeology. And as most of the adults were recent migrants, they did not consider the archaeology as their own. This was the starting point of the work that I have been involved in for the past 5 years. I became interested in the archaeological project's contribution to stories of heritage in the valley. Because while the adults didn't see the stories as intrinsic to their narratives, there was something different about the children. All of the children of the Diwel Valley were born after the start of the excavation project. And later on, spoiler alert, I would learn that they saw the archaeology as part of the narratives of their lives. On my second year of joining the project in 2016, we, a team of enthusiastic individuals from varying fields, archaeology, anthropology, education, social work, community development, archiving, and even architecture, started heritage initiatives that involved 3 strands of public archaeology that the PIPRP had already begun: communication, site maintenance, and tourism. In terms of site maintenance, we were building on the fact that in 2010, the local government of El Nido purchased land in front of the cave, and that in 2015, one of the project's major funders donated a building to be used as an exhibit hall for the project's finds. So the work was cut out for us. With the help of the municipal government, we were able to retrofit the building to make it blend with the landscape even better, and to have local workers and crafters take part in building and designing it. Inside, we have an ever-evolving exhibit, slowly improving year by year, fitting the narrative more and more. For tourism, the local tourism office has always been enthusiastic about sharing information about the archaeology to town's guests. For our part, and in recognition of the fact that El Nido is a booming tourist town, we sat down with as many people as possible to open conversations about the tourism that they envision. The most exciting part was creating this learning program for our kids, all of whom live in the valley. The program was built upon sharing more information about the project, getting the students to share about their place, and figuring out how archaeology fit into their narratives. We started off with an archaeology workshop in 2016, inviting students to come over to the site during the excavation season so that we could share information about the excavations and to find out what they wanted to see in the museum, what they thought tourists should know about the Diwel Valley, and also how the Diwel Valley looks like to them in map form. They knew a little about the archaeology and wanted to know more. They found their place beautiful and wanted to take care of it. And as shown in their maps, they saw the karsts as natural place markers and monuments, even the ones they don't often go to. Returning a few months later and jumping off from their answers to those initial questions, we came to their classrooms to talk about the excavations. For the daycare up to the third grade children, we used a storybook. Pwede bang maghukay sa Palawan, coloring sheets and stickers, and even an alphabet. A is for archaeology. For the grades 4 to 6 students, we were aided by skeleton spots and chocolate chip cookies. For the high school students, we treated the cultural mapping activity as sharing sessions, as they told us about the different cuisines, places, games, feasts, events, industries, and intangible assets of the valley. We also set up a one-day display of artifacts from the excavations and asked them what the Diwa Valley means to them. Later on, we set up a museum workshop where we discussed the concept of a museum because at that time, many of them had never been to one. Aside from the one in the barrio next to the Diwa Valley, the next museum would be 6 hours away in Puerto Princesa. We also did a pop-up museum where we asked them to bring something that represented them and their families, staged song, poetry, and story writing contests with Diwa as a theme, and asked our kids what they can do to take care of the valley. We also made museum boxes and asked why they love the valley. Once the next excavation season came around, we had a geology workshop and an astronomy activity, and another archaeology workshop, this time asking the students what they could do with the knowledge they had gained so far. All of these activities were always run as two-way conversations. As much as we tried to share the story of the artifacts and excavations, we invested our time in listening to them describe the valley that they live in, telling us what it means to them. To our kids, Diwa is a place of archaeological natural heritage, which has been used repeatedly by different groups who lived thousands of years before them. A place that they appreciate growing up in and that they recognize as intertwined with their and their family's existence. Unlike the older generations where many trace their identity to Ibahaya clan, their children identify themselves as homegrown to Diwa. They think of Diwa as a place to be protected and where their participation is important in its maintenance. A place that they are proud of and feel responsible for, and a place that has potential for tourism. They think of Diwa as the only home they've ever known. Their answers also told us about archaeology's place in their definitions. The excavations as a seasonal occurrence, something they've grown to expect year after year, and Ile as a focal point for their community identity, as a recreational space that they're quite fond of. The place they go to with their friends, their literal jungle gym. And their answers also gave us an idea of how we can move forward with the work that has already started, by finding ways to keep their traditions alive and to develop their landscapes for and with them. Easier said than done. This process hasn't been all rainbows and sunshine, and there are still many things left to do. Tourism for us is both a boon and a bane, as it provides livelihood for tour guides, but also contributes to land speculation. Looking at the development of the tourist town just 30 minutes away, one becomes fearful of the changes that may happen in the landscape in a short span of time. Site management is a continuous process of troubleshooting, maintenance, repairs, conflict resolution, and relationship buildings, with highs and lows all the time. And our programs with the kids continue expanding to other topics, geology and biology, and having a greater reach. One of our most special moments recently was a camp we did on site with our high school kids last year. 4 days of exploring the valley and ending by creating a mural of their dreams and placing their handprints on the wall of the exhibit hall. Placemaking and learning intertwined. While it is a slow process, our commitment to education and sharing the story to our favorite audience is clear. Our museum curator, homegrown in Diwa and a talented bamboo artist, said it best when he said, "Marami kaming turista na buwibisita, pero mas gusto naming makipag-partner sa mga kabataan, sa mga eskwelahan para makapag-facilitate kami ng mga programa. Gusto naming ituro kung ano ba ang history ng Diwa Valley, sino ba ang mga unang nakatira dito, ano ba ang naging pamumuhay nila." Like everyone else, this pandemic has affected our plans. We were supposed to have a jam-packed summer of activities, repairs, upgrades, workshops, exploration walks. But we'll be saving those for another time. Right now, tourism and the other industries in the valley are unstable, and our kids can't go to the site. But we will find ways to bring the learning to them and to share stories again once the time is right. I'll end the story here, hoping for better days while preparing for difficult ones. This has been the story of creating shared narratives, linking the narratives of an archaeological project that has been in the same place for 2 decades to the story of a place that has been in the process of becoming for thousands of years. Millions, if you include the geology. This is a story of all the placemaking that has been done, acknowledging the bumps while being optimistic about what lies ahead. A story of creating better sense of identity and belonging and making archaeology relevant today. An archaeological heritage project and the heritage of an archaeological project. That is our story for now.